expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Arizona, Prescott, Flagstaff, Tucson, Casa Grande. Welcome to the program. Brother Mike back on the radio, hardcorechristianity.com. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in today. Today's Bible study, Louis Farrakhan, the spokesman of Satan. My goodness, what a character. Hey, will you call somebody and tell them radio program's on? I'll make a couple of quick announcements. It's Brother Mike. I am the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. 37 years this month. Can you believe that? I'm in my 37th year as a professional counselor. That's unusual. Boy, that's been a long haul. That's older than, I've been doing that longer than you are old, many of you. On the website, hardcorechristianity.com, all of our ministry services are there. We have 2 live services at the Deliverance Center every week, 7 p.m. on Thursdays and Fridays. We're on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. And on the website, you can sign up for our monthly free seminars. You can look at our radio programs. They're all archived on there for good or bad. You can hit the PayPal button and send us another donation. By the way, thank you so much for your tithes and offerings over the years. We have never been late on a ministry payment for anything, radio payment, rent payment, bills, anything. You name it, we have never been late. And we thank you for that. Our partners have been very good to us over the years. Our partners have been very, very good to me, as they say in baseball. Sister Karen's on the homepage of the website, ready to sell your house free. She loves working with born-again Christians. It works out wonderfully, and thank you for your referrals. Louis Farrakhan. You know who he is, don't you? Yeah, he's the Nation of Islam leader here in the United States. It's a form of Islam, but it's not real Islam. Shias and Sunni Muslims do not recognize the Nation of Islam. They politically recognize them, and they like them, and they work with them, and they're very friendly with each other politically and in public. You know how our politicians act a certain way in public, and then they're totally different when they're not in public? That's because they're all demon-infected, pathological liars. Well, the same situation has occurred here. Louis Farrakhan makes our politicians look like gentle, loving Sunday school teachers. Earlier this month, Mr. Farrakhan visited the Islamic Republic of Iran. I don't know if you saw this on the news, but this article briefly summarizes it. Quote, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan visited Iran as the Islamic Republic celebrated the anniversary of the seizure of the United States Embassy in Iran in 1979. During a speech at Tehran University, Farrakhan said that the United States is gloating over new economic sanctions. He said that nothing happens without the will of Allah, and added, is it not true that you have called America the great Satan? Quote, if you believe that, then wouldn't Satan be actively involved in trying to destroy a nation that is set up on submission to the will of God? He also called on Iranians to persevere and to carry forward the revolution. Part of Farrakhan's speech aired on Iranian television on November 4th of this year. Farrakhan said in the telecast, I'm coming to you from the United States of America that is gloating over the fact that the President of the United States is going to place the Islamic Republic with the most serious, stringent sanctions that have ever been placed on any nation before. Is it not true that you have called America the great Satan? America is making it very hard for Iran to successfully carry out its mission, but if you have the strength to persevere under these hard trials, the victory will be yours. Can you imagine this guy? Here he has all the benefits of living here in America, the greatest country in the world, the land of the free and the home of the brave, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all of it guarantees you free speech. What blows my mind is that this guy is an active advocate for the Democratic Party. I have never understood how anybody could have anything to do with this gentleman. I've never understood it. The Nation of Islam is not really part of Islam, all right? They have significantly different teachings. They have significantly different teachings than Sunni and Shia Islam. Their testimonies of faith are non-existent in the Nation of Islam. The 5 pillars of faith in Islam are you need to pray 5 times every day, number 1. Number 2, you must be paying money for charities. Number 3, you must fast when Ramadan comes around annually. You must fast part of the day for the whole month. And number 5, you must one time in your life make a pilgrimage to Mecca. Okay? The Nation of Islam does not subscribe to the 5 tenets or the pillars of faith of Islam. The Nation of Islam is different from Islam in that it was started by Wallace Ford in 1930. It's centered on the belief that blacks are the greatest race. Blacks are deemed to be capable of being elevated to the same status as Allah. Can you imagine that? This is the Nation of Islam teaching on Islam. Nation of Islam believers are mainly black, and they teach that the white denomination, is the incarnate of the devil himself, white people. Well, in Sunni and Shia Islam, they do not believe that. They do not have these teachings. They don't believe that any human being could be like Allah. Unlike Islam, the Nation of Islam does not follow the teachings of Muhammad. They follow Elijah Muhammad and his teachings. Elijah was a student of Ford, and he took over after the other guy died, and then Farrakhan took over after Elijah Muhammad died. Malcolm X was a powerful follower of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam until he found out that Elijah Muhammad was a serial adulterer. He had had 6 or 7 kids by 6 or 7 different women in the denomination, so to speak. And that's when Malcolm X turned on him and saw him as a fraud. And that's when the Nation of Islam had to murder him. They assassinated the guy. And Farrakhan was a close friend of Malcolm X when he got assassinated, but bagged it and went with the Nation of Islam. And it worked out great for him. He became the head of the religion here in the United States. But Islam and the Nation of Islam, they do not fit together except for, political reasons. Farrakhan's an interesting person. Here's some interesting quotes from from Farrakhan over the years. They're fascinating and gives you an insight into his character and his integrity or lack thereof. Quote, "The Jews don't like Farrakhan, so they call me Hitler. Well, that's a good name. Hitler was a great man." Unquote. Quote, "They call them terrorists. I call them freedom fighters." Unquote. Another quote, "White people are potential humans, but they haven't evolved yet." Unquote. Quote, "Anarchy may await America due to the daily injustices suffered by the people." Unquote. Quote, "Many of the Jews who owned the homes, the apartments in the black community, we considered them bloodsuckers because they took from our community and built their community, but didn't offer anything back to our community." Unquote. Quote, "Gaddafi is hated because he is the leader of a small country that's rich, but he uses his money to finance liberation struggles." Unquote. Boy, that was a prophecy that came true, wasn't it? Not. Quote, "The die is set, and Malcolm will not escape for the foolish talk he spoke against his benefactor. Such a man is worthy of death, and it would have been so were it not for Muhammad's confidence that God would give him the victory over his enemies." When Elijah Muhammad got caught as a serial adulterer and fostering a whole bunch of kids, Malcolm X turned on the religion and turned on Elijah Muhammad, and then Farrakhan turned on him, and the guy ended up dead. Quote from Farrakhan, "Everything that I'm attempting to do is based on my understanding of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he wanted for his people," unquote. Well, in Islam, they do not honor Elijah Muhammad at all. They follow the teachings of Muhammad and the Hadith, and they don't have anything to do with it, with the Nation of Islam. Many of them consider it, heresy, their teachings heresy. But because Farrakhan hates America, and because he hates white people, and he hates the American government, and because he hates Jews, and he hates whites, obviously Iran is going to welcome him regardless of what his Islamic beliefs are. All false religions have a sliding scale to who they accept into their group. If you meet their political needs or their financial needs, hey, you're welcomed in the group. Jesus said it. The Bible says it. If somebody comes to your church and they're wealthy and well-dressed and you give them the best seat in the house, and you remove someone who's poor from that seat and they have to sit in the back, you're a respecter of persons. Well, that's what religion is. It's a respecter of persons. Catholicism, Islam, you name it. All religion is a respecter of persons. And Islam and the Nation of Islam are no exception. If the devil needed somebody to spew racial hatred and anti-Semitism and hate Jews and hate the Nation of Israel and hate America for helping the Jews and the Nation of Israel, he couldn't have picked a better servant than his good friend, Louis Farrakhan. He believes America is the great Satan. He believes that Jews are Satan's servants. And he's a minister of hate. See you next time.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.